Hello and welcome to the Chaotic Rebirth podcast. I am your host, Katie. Thank you for being here. Whether you are watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming platform, thank you for being here. I am so excited. This is the very first episode of the podcast, and I am so excited. I am doing this very what's the word I'm looking for? Just very randomly, impulsively. That's the word I'm looking for. I am probably the single most impulsive person that I know. It's the Gemini. And I don't know how well the microphone is blocking out background noise. I do have a bird. So I'm sure once things kind of get rolling with the podcast and like with my channel, I'll be able to move rooms and kind of make things a little bit different. But for now, she's going to be putting in her input as well, maybe. This microphone that I have is supposed to block out like background noise. I also have a dog. We have a whole zoo in here, and this is their house, so and mine, but I try not to, I don't want them to be uncomfortable. I was looking at some suggestions that some of my followers have made about what they would like for me to talk about, and I it's like the perfect, I think, start to the podcast, as well as just something interesting to talk about, and then you get to learn a little bit more about me too. So the topic that we are going to be discussing today is how did I know that I wanted to start paganism? So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on me and how I got to this point, as well as a little background on paganism, Norse pagan. I have so much to talk about. Okay. All right. So, where do I start? Okay. So, if you don't follow me, and if this is the first time that you are listening to me, again, my name is Katie. I am a psychic medium and a Norse pagan and a Lokian and all of those little fun labels that I have for myself. But before I was that, I was Roman Catholic. I went to private school my whole entire life, literally K through 12. And I went to college for a little bit, but not for very long. And oh my God, I loved Jesus. I loved Jesus. I loved God. I loved them. I loved them so much. You would come into my room, I would have crucifixes and saint statues. My favorite saint was St. Francis of Assisi, because he was the patron saint of animals, and I love animals. I had like 10 rosaries. Didn't need that many. And I had, cross necklaces, and I collected saint cards, like that you would get, like with like little prayers in the back that you would get from like Catholic bookstores. I collected those like Pokemon cards, and I would have our priest at the school bless all of these things that I had, and I'd pray every night, and honestly, that lasted up until I think I left for college. I had a lot of like coming to Jesus moments of like, oh my God, like my faith has been restored, and then something like bad would happen to me. And I'd be like, I don't know about all that. But a big thing that I think a lot of people who are now pagan can relate to is I prayed a lot. And I remember being in my room and praying and begging God to help me. And I never got an answer. I never felt comfort. And I had people that I knew that literally were like, had these incredible moments. Like, I remember there was somebody that I was like casually seeing, and they were like going to commit, and they felt like a hand grabbed them, and they felt like that was Jesus. Now being pagan, that really could have been anyone, but it really restored their faith because they felt comfort and safe. And then I knew somebody else who had a near-death experience, and they literally said that they saw Jesus when they almost died. So what I'm getting at here is that I'm not saying that Jesus is not real. I'm not saying that God is not real. He is just, I believe in them. I believe that they are real. They're just not my gods. And that's kind of what I came to the conclusion to. In my early 20s, I went to different churches. I tried to figure it out. I started to, oh, hello, Bubba. I started to really hate Catholicism and Christianity, mainly probably because of the own like religious trauma that I've experienced, but like there was a lot of hate associated with it, with excuse me, with homosexuality, or like, not homosexuality, homophobia. And it was around the time where like same-sex marriage was approved, and then of course abortion rights, and like there was a lot. And I had like some experiences with people that I knew who were in it, and it just didn't feel right. And then I had a friend who introduced me. She took me to my very first metaphysical shop, and I got an oracle deck that I still have to this day, and I got like crystals that I also still have to this day. This was in 2018. And I loved it. But it scared me because I didn't understand it. And then a lot happened in my life. Like I was super in it. Like I wanted to learn more about tarot, but I was still it wasn't like time yet, I don't think, because I was still so scared. The religious trauma was real. It was real. Like I was terrified. I was so interested in tarot, but I was scared. And I was just kind of a crystal girly for a while. Like I really loved crystals. I thought they were cool. I got a little carnelian tumble that I wore in a necklace, and that bitch got me through so much. I love that little carnelian tumble. It was amazing. But then, I stopped using my oracle deck and stuff for a while. Mainly because I think I was sick. I just did not have the energy. I think that was around the time when I got sick. Anyway, so the panorama hit, like for most people, actually everyone, because it was a global pandemic. Why am I acting like I'm the only person that this happened to? What the hell? Okay, no, so okay, so the panorama hit, and I got even more into crystals. I started like doing live sales and buying a bunch because luckily I still had my job, and I was actually making the most money that I think I have ever made in my entire life, because I was getting paid a very good hourly at this job, and I wasn't using gas to get to work because it was kind of far. I really just was paying for groceries, and then like I decorated the apartment that I was in and all that stuff. But then a lot of stuff happened where I lived, and I wanted to move. And so me and my ex, which this comes into play as well, me and my ex moved to the other side of the state. And that's when it really happened. Actually, before that move, I can't believe I left this out. Before that move, I started a crystal business with my best friend on Instagram. Crescent Beings Healing if you are interested and you want some crystals. I don't think I'm ever going to sell crystals again. I love them, but it was just a lot. And so if you ever want some high quality, amazing crystals and an even more amazing person to buy them from, Danielle is your girl. She's the best. Anyway, so we started that together. It was originally called KD Druzy Crystal Days, and then it went to KD Metaphysical Energy Healing, and then it went to Crescent Beings Healing. I think that was the amount of times that we changed the name, but I did that for a while, and actually doing that helped me research more, and I kind of fell into the New Age spirituality pipeline. I know, guys, I know. And if you want to know more about that, let me know. For those of you who do not understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, so I was really in this point where I was just starting to learn more. I was meditating more. I researched about like my spirit guides, and I was in it. I was in it. I got a tarot deck. That tarot deck that I got, I did not understand. It was not a good deck for beginners. So I got another tarot deck, and that was better. So yeah, and I just kind of slowly started to get into it. And then after I moved, I became Reiki certified. I would like to get like recertified or like learn from another teacher. There's nothing wrong with the teacher that I learned from, but I don't know. I just don't feel like I learned enough, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I did that. And then after I became Reiki certified, that's when like my mediumship abilities kind of kicked in. And then I was doing Reiki for people, and I would start talking to like their past loved ones, which, what? You don't do that in a Reiki session. Like, what the hell? So I started literally talking to people's like past loved ones in Reiki sessions, and I would freak them out because these poor people were like, I just wanted Reiki healing, and now you're talking to like my dad, and it was a lot. So I came to terms with it, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm a medium. Okay, that's what this is. So I took a while to like kind of hone the ability, but honestly, like it was very strong, and I again, impulsive. I just did it. I just started doing it, and I have had the most amazing readings with people from start to finish. It's not finish, but from start to now. And it has been the most amazing experience. And within that, I kind of broke away from the New Age spirituality pipeline. And started getting more interested in paganism and witchcraft. I think that just kind of felt like the natural next step for me. Also, I really wanted to make sure that I was protected when I was doing this stuff. And so I was kind of looking into protection. I love candles. I love spell candles. I also had a friend at the time who was a witch, who was a practitioner. And so I was like, teach me, but obviously they didn't. But like, I was so fascinated by what they were doing, and I wanted to do it so bad. And that's when I tried to start working with deities. And I fucked up so much in the beginning, you guys. I fucked up so much. And so that's why I always tell like new people, like, or not new people, new practitioners, people who are new to the craft is what I'm trying to say. I always tell them, like, don't be afraid to make mistakes, because I was making, like, spell jars for myself and, like, not activating the herbs. Like, I was close. Like, I put the intentions in and stuff like that, and I charged them and things like that, but I wasn't, like, activating the herbs, and so they wouldn't work as well. And I started deity work with really no knowledge of how to do that. I wanted to work with Hades and Persephone, and so I did a confirmation reading, and I just went off of like what I was feeling instead of like what was actually being confirmed for me. yeah, I went down a little rabbit hole.
It's a little bit of psychosis, isn't it?
But like on a real note, like I went through a little bit of a spiritual psychosis. I think everybody does a little. It's snapping yourself out of it that I think is the important part. But I do think everybody kind of experiences that in the beginning. And then they kind of are like, okay, I gotta slow down. I have to kind of come back to reality. And that's why grounding is so important, kids. And we'll talk about that in another episode. But yeah, so I was trying to work with them. I wanted to so badly. And I do think that they were in my space, but I just was not at the capacity to do that. And I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing. I gave offerings quite a bit. But I didn't research anything into like how to worship a Greek deity. And so I don't know. But yeah, and then that's when the man, the myth, the legend came into my life, which was Loki. And the way that I confirmed him, I might want to save this story, actually. I think I'm going to save this story. I'm going to save the story of Loki for like, this could be him coming into my brain right now, but I think I'm just going to dedicate like a whole podcast episode to my journey with Loki and like how that started. So I'm going to wait, but Loki came into my life and everything changed. So like I mentioned, I was with my ex at the time. I was with him for like 5 years. And he was a little, I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to get sued for defamation. So like fill in the blanks. Allegedly. But, you know, allegedly, I can't be sued. But he was not the best. And granted, I wasn't either for a long time. I had a lot of issues, but I was working on them and I healed them and I was trying to be better, and he did not want to. So Loki basically kicked my ass out of that relationship, and now I'm here. There's so much in between, but the main focus of like why I'm telling you this story and kind of how I got here is because how did I know that I wanted to like be pagan? I didn't. There's a lot of like kind of trial and error when it comes to spirituality and kind of figuring out like what fits for you. Even still, I'm Italian. And so I look into like I'm like, oh, I wonder if like Italian folk magic would be like cool to look into for me, just because like it's the practice of my ancestors. But my ancestors were also Norse as well. So not Norse, but like from that area. And so, like, I do have a little bit of, like, historical root in Norse paganism as well, and I think that's why I find it so fascinating. But at first, I didn't even really understand that there was separations. And I didn't realize, I thought it was just kind of all the same, but I didn't realize that, like, there were so many separations per culture. And like how people practice different things, and it's so fascinating. But yeah, but like I think that the reason why I just kind of started to go towards that is just because the God that I was worshiping was not my God. And honestly, I wanted to worship myself. Because that's, like, the cool thing with witchcraft is, like, deities are fantastic. They help you so much. They really do. But the cool thing is that, like, you don't need anything but you to practice. You are the magic, and you are the one manipulating energy and transmuting energy and all that stuff. Like it's all about you. And like thinking about it now, like it's like, wow, like I can do so many cool things just with my own abilities, which I think is pretty fucking rad. So I'm sorry, I'm adjusting this, so I don't know if you can, if you're just listening to audio, if you could see me or if you can hear me adjusting this a million times. I'm trying to get like a good angle for the microphone on the video. Anyway, but yeah, like I guess like I didn't really know. I'm very impulsive, which is why I'm filming a podcast episode with a mic that is hooked up to my coffee table on a random fucking Wednesday at like 2 p.m. You know? I just kind of went with like what called me. And what called me was Norse paganism. And especially when Loki entered the chat, like that really made me understand, like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I feel called to do. And I'm still, like, I'm not perfect. I'm still learning. And I think that's another thing that people don't understand is that I may be teaching people and helping people, but I am also still learning. We continue to learn our whole entire lives. So if you are learning and a novice and you're kind of like, you know, you don't feel good enough or like you haven't researched enough or whatever, but you really want to try like, you know, some basic spell work, try it. Especially if it's just like protection and cleansing, like nothing's going to happen to you. Of course, you want to make sure that if you are doing something like a little bit more advanced, like binding or hexing or cursing, you probably want to know what you're talking about when it comes to that. I am not like a baneful girly. I am to a point. I don't send them out, but my wards are like, you know, a little spicy. But yeah, I don't know. Just do what you feel called to, honestly. But yeah, okay. It's been around 20 minutes, and I think, like, the first couple episodes I'm going to make of this, I'm going to make kind of short. I already have, like, guests that are going to be on the podcast, and I'm so excited. I have been working on this for a minute, so I'm really, 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 really excited. I can't stop grabbing the mic, and I think I'm just, like, so enamored by the fact that there is a mic in front of me, and I think I look so cool. But anyway, I'm going to end the first podcast, the very first episode here. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And again, if you want me to talk about anything under the sun in terms of paganism, my life, deities, whatever, I have so many ideas for this. Just let me know. Call me, beat me if you want to reach me, you know? But thank you so much for watching / listening, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.